council work session for November 4th to order, please. For the folks who are on Facebook watching us, we do have a full council. Councilwoman Mentor is under the weather, and so she is here by telephone. And Alice, you want to say hi so they know you're here?
Hello.
Okay. She does have a copy of the packet. For the folks who are on Facebook, we have the media, we have security, and former councilman Darren Ayers is in the gallery, so we welcome him tonight. We also have CAO Woodmaster and our city clerk, Ms. Erin Nicole. There being no old business, we can move right into new business. Tonight, the first item is the 2025 council meeting calendar. Ms. Woodmaster.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
It's that time of year to start with another calendar. All right, so in your packet tonight, you will see the colorful sheet that looks like this, as well as the actual list of the calendar dates for the council meetings. Erin labored over this. We've made sure that anything that we adjusted last year has been accommodated on this calendar. There are a few dates for the council to consider, just because there's either a holiday or it is election day. So those items are in purple on that calendar. Those being May the 26th is a holiday, so we're proposing May 27th be the council meeting for that week. October 14th, because the 13th is Columbus Day, and then Election Day is November 4th, so we're proposing to move the work session again to Monday the 3rd. Those three are different, and then we do still have tentative dates for the council retreats, both spring and fall. They have not been confirmed yet, but we hope to have those confirmed by next week. Any questions?
Pretty simple. It's not like we've not been doing this for same every year.
Well, thank you for including the event dates. Seeing events out here, movies on the market.
I believe we have 4 work sessions or council meetings that will take place in the training center, just due to the evening court. But there's 4 in total.
So that schedule, I'll have to pencil you on in.
Nothing waiting out.
Just commit, just use a pen. We're worth it.
Crayon.
I mean, that's still permanent. I'll take it.
Important dates like June 30th, end of fiscal year, is that why that one's highlighted?
Yeah.
Okay. Looks good.
Yeah, mine's great.
We don't have to vote on it tonight, council, so are we good just bringing this to next week's?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. We'll do that. Erin, thank you for working on this.
Welcome.
Okay, and then the next item under new business is ARPA funds obligation, also Ms. Woodmaster.
This is a fun one. So about half of you were here when ARPA was granted to municipalities all across the nation. We received a total of $1.2,074,000. And one of the things that we did when we first received this money in November of 21 was commit all of it to certain projects. And so that first list that you see on page 4 of your packet, that was everything that we had committed these dollars to. It has been 3 years, and we are coming up on an ARPA deadline for the obligation of funds. And when we first committed these funds to both the solids handling building and the E911 radio system, we anticipated that those projects would have already been completed or nearing completion at this point. However, neither one of those are at that stage. And so we've had to look at alternative ways to use these dollars. One of the requirements of ARPA is that all of your funds are obligated by December 31st of 2024. Obligation has a very specific and technical definition. And to make a long story short, it just requires that there is a contract, a purchase order, an agreement in place that services or goods have been negotiated with the contractor or vendor and the city. So with the solids handling building, that was a bigger project. Once we bid it out earlier this summer, the cost went from our anticipated, I think it was 800,000, and the bids came back, the lowest bid was 1.2. And so we had to find another way to fund that project, and we weren't able to do that. However, because we started this project 3 years ago, the fabrication of the screw press that will go inside the building has already begun. And so we are still proposing to use the funds for the screw press in the ARPA funds that we have. We believe that the contract or the purchase order and the agreement that we have with Huber, the manufacturer, is sufficient and meets the obligation. It just will not, we won't be able to use the additional funds from the original commitment. So the first commitment was 558,000, and in total with the screw press, it'll be 508,000. There was a $55,000 change order that happened this summer that will come before you Monday night for approval to commit these funds to that as well. The original commitment for the screw press portion was 387. So there is a differential there that will have to be covered. Again, we're just going to use the ARPA funds to make sure that that screw press is bought and paid for, and then the focus after the first of the year will be to find funding to get the building installed to house the screw press. Any questions about that one? So there was some monies left over that we have to recommit on that one, and we'll talk about that in just a second, because the second project is the E911 radio system. That project was supposed to be live at the end of 24. There's been a lot of delays. They were really out of the control of the project. There's site issues with the tower location, and just making sure that all of the infrastructure is installed properly. So when we obligated these funds in 2021, our portion of it for all of the radios, mobile and portable, that we have, it was just under 250,000. I'm sorry, 265,000. And that number is still relatively the same. The way that the radios are accounted for or charged to all of the cities, it is based on the entire contract of the county, but the rate won't change. It's a part of the agreement that the county has. We just have to wait for the ability to purchase them. That will not happen before December 31st, and we cannot just issue a purchase order for them, because it's also the county's contract, not the city's contract. So we don't think that we can use ARPA for that project anymore. I do, however, recommend and will recommend when it's time for us to pay for them that we use SPLOST 7 for the radios. We were hoping that we weren't going to have to use SPLOST, but that was actually what we were going to do before ARPA became an option. So we're just going to go back to that. However, we have $265,000 that now has to be spent or obligated before December of 2024. So we have it in total at the bottom of page 4. You'll see that there's $319,000 that we do need to obligate by December 31st. I've talked with our department heads, and we've come up with a list or a version of a list. We really would like the council's direction on where you would like for these dollars to be focused. So for the water treatment plant on page 5 of your packet, the last page, we have the erosion control, or really erosion mitigation at the raw water intake. There is at the river side of the building, the land has given way, and so we're proposing to pour concrete and shore that up a little bit. That project is just under 25,000. That was next on our list as far as projects that needed to be completed for the raw water intake. And so naturally I put it on the list. If you guys don't want to use the money for that, that's fine. We will use system connection fees for that. However, ARPA is here. figured that we could free up the system connection fees and let that continue to build, and use those dollars here. Then we also have interior painting. We're hoping that some local contractors can give us a cheaper price for this. But all of you, I think, have been now to the water treatment plant, and we've now completed the repainting portion of the clarifiers and all of the pipes that go around the clarifiers. All of that has been completed by our staff in-house. This proposal is for the interior of the building, which is a significant cost. So we are looking at some local contractors to give us a price on what that would cost for us to complete that. However, I did put what we do know is a bid on here, just for reference. This is not something that I'm asking council to commit on Monday. We want to see if we can find a better price. Just wanted to put it on there because it is an item that needs to be done. It just has taken a backseat to some of the other items on our priority list. Any questions
Who
about
is
this?
this quote in?
I'm sorry?
Where did this quote come from?
I don't know the contractor's name, but we reached out to them almost a year ago. That was, Fletcher had done that a year ago, just so that he could get it onto the list. And even he agrees that that's way too much money, so. Yeah. But I do think that they are a large company, and he feels like that was part of it, that they just felt like they could, yeah.
Probably some special kind of paint because of the moisture in there.
Oh, yeah, now that will be taken into account, but,
It's also really, it's not just like walls, it's all kinds of, I mean, if you recall having been inside of there, there's just a lot in there to paint.
any questions about those two?
I have a question on the erosion control project. Does that include engineering?
Yes, yeah, that's already completed. Okay, and then for Public Works, one that I would like to request, for these funds to be allocated for, can she hear me? Is that what she was saying? Could she hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was saying I can't hear.
I'm sorry, I was.
Oh, okay.
Clear my throat, I apologize.
The two-way radio system for Public Works, this has been on our needs list for a while. Again, it's just one of those things that it's easy to just push off to the side, and just wait until we have the funding for it. There is funding now available for it. Scott has talked about this at all of our retreats. It's in all of his staff reports. This is something that he does want for his staff, to be able to communicate in severe weather conditions, and just being able to stay in constant communication and not pick up their phones while they're driving. You've heard him talk about that. Or pulling over to the side of the road just to take the call. So to avoid that, we'd like to get the radio system. The proposal that we originally got is $18,500, but we are looking at a local, that was from somebody outside of the state. So we are looking at somebody from Gainesville. We think it'll be in and around that price as well. Then we have the CIP update, which Fletcher brought. Well, actually, the last two retreats we've talked about improving or updating the CIP. The last one that was completed was in 2012. We modified it in 2018, and all we've done since then is really check things off that have been completed on the CIP list. But this is to overhaul it, go back and redo cost estimates if there's any designs or new projects or renderings that they need to draw. That is all included in that cost. That was
Yes, we really, that's necessary, as we've all discussed at our retreat, that's really necessary for us to look for funding from the state to be able to improve our water and wastewater systems, all those projects, so I'm really looking forward to that.
We also have zone meter planning. This again has been something that we've talked about in retreats. This cost, the $15,000, is just the first phase of the zone meter project. It would be identifying where the zone meters can go, which is labor intensive. And we do still have to finish a section of our system on the hydraulic model that wasn't able to be analyzed before. So once that all is complete, we can look at the zone meters. And the zone meters, just for anyone listening, it really will allow us to isolate sections of our system to better determine where leaks may be. in the system. If we can find those loops that exist in the water system, we can find where most of our water is going and address some of our water loss that way. So that is that project. Then we also have a pole barn for the Public Works building. This was an item that was cut early on in the Public Works building project. Scott has been really trying to save and sell things and just get to a point where he could get these pole barns up to put all of the rest of the supplies that are currently down at $355. So that is in here. He is anticipating, if not this year, having all of those funds in the next budget cycle for it to be on there. But if we can take it out of the budget and use these funds to do it, that is an option as well. We also have on here the air relief valves on the force main to replace those and service them. We don't have a cost on that yet, but it is something that can be done because it needs to be done. So if that is something that the council is interested in, we can do that as well.
On the two-way radio system, is this for the trucks or for all equipment?
It would be, it's for the trucks, but if they were on a piece of equipment, they would have it with them.
Okay.
Like they have the ability to wear it.
Okay, the reason I ask that is, I understand that we've got some spots where cell phone coverage is spotty. I just thought it would be a more cost-effective solution to maybe put a cell booster in the trucks.
I think we've tried it. I'd have to confirm that with Scott, but
Gotcha.
I do remember talking about that a few years ago with him.
Gotcha.
And then I was hoping to piggyback off of the E911
Oh,
radios.
okay.
Because that's supposed to expand the coverage as well.
How many radios is this?
I can tell you that. I want to say it's 12. But that cost also includes the install. So the antenna going up and all
So
that.
it's low.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm saying we're going 18.5 for a two-way radio system.
Just one.
I can get you a CD for $20.
No, it also includes the install and the equipment that is needed to install it into the vehicle.
You know, people and make it work.
But we will, Scott actually has a call with the other contractor, because again, this is the previous quote. He has a call with them on Wednesday to confirm that, but it is 12.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then for the fire department, we have the breathing air system that Chief talked about at the retreat last month. This one, we knew that it was going to be expensive, but when I thought or had a feeling that these funds weren't going to be available, I did ask him to reach out to the manufacturer to find out what the cost would be, and it is $58,000. But ours is set to expire. I think he said it was next year. And so either way, this expense is coming, whether we like it or not. And so with these funds being made available, we thought that would be a good idea to add it in as well.
So the system we have now is going to expire,
Yeah,
was,
yeah. I think it's 25.
25 years old.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
And this is the system that actually fills the bottles that they carry on their backs. So,
so hopefully we get another 25 years out of a new
I'm
one.
good with that.
Okay, and then for general admin, we added in here the email conversion that was cut from the budget this year to install the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure at the Public Works building. So we added that back in here. It doesn't have to happen this year, but it is an option. And then I did go ahead and add in here codification. We have talked about this since I've gotten here. And it is a cumbersome project, and it is expensive. And so that is just something that we've pushed off. We're like, one day we're going to find the funding for it, and we'll be able to do that. So I am having them redo the quote. She's hoping to get it to me tomorrow, so I don't have the final number. But this is a 20% increase from the one I got in 2020. So I feel like it could be fine. And it also can be split over 2 budget cycles. If we only wanted to do half from ARPA and then the other half from the budget next year, we could do that as well. this project, it would take over, like, they would take all of our ordinances and their attorneys would look through them and make sure that they are all consistent, where they need to be, put them in order. And they go through all of that work so that we don't have to. We ask them to quote that, as well as us doing that manual labor side and then just codifying them together. When I tell you we don't have the time to commit to organizing all of that, I do think that it is in the best interest of the city to let them organize it and tell us anything that may be missing that we haven't caught in the last couple of years. So that is in here. I hope to have a final quote for that on Monday.
Isn't there, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
isn't there also a crunch to do that based on our population?
Yes, technically we were supposed to have done this in 2010. So we are behind the curve. Once you reach 2,500 in population, you're supposed to codify your ordinances. Until you reach 2,500, you are required to keep an index of them, and we have many iterations of an index. But what we have right now functionally is a set of binders that list out all of the ordinances that we do have. So if you look at, I think City of Cornelia, Clarksville, and Demorest are all on MuniCode, and that's who we have quoting it, or Civic Plus. They are the number one in the industry that can do it. They're capable, competent, and that is the direction that everyone is headed, at least in this area. I don't know about others, but.
The email conversion, that's going from Google over to Microsoft, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we're paying either way now. And so we already have Microsoft licenses for most of our staff for either Word or things like that. And so it also, by converting, we've talked about it for a couple of years, but by converting from Google to Microsoft, it saves a lot of time on open records requests when it comes to email retrieval. Currently what we have to do is we have to drop a PST file from Gmail to Outlook, and then I have to upload it into Outlook. And if you have over 500 emails, it starts to take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So imagine having an inbox that has over 20,000 emails that you have to go through. And we have to keep those for their useful life. And some of them have, like, we do still go into old email accounts to find information. So they're not at the point where we can just dispose of them and get rid of them. But it does make it easier. If we're all on Microsoft Outlook, we can just type in the dates, the times, or a time period with keywords, and it'll sift through all of the inboxes that exist in our catalog. Which, when I tell you, it will save a lot of time. And it's the same cost now. So I just figured going over to Microsoft and just keeping everything in one place. We also have this fun quirk about our system that we have, I don't really know the technical term for it, but we have our Microsoft emails say citybaldwin.net because of how it was done at the time. I don't know all of the details. All I know is that it's .net, but that doesn't actually exist. We're a .org. And so this will also eliminate that.
Gotcha.
Clean that up a little bit.
Right. No, that needs to happen. I'm familiar with Google's little quirky search functions.
Some staff don't like Outlook, but it just takes some getting used
I
to.
wonder why. I wonder who and I wonder why. You mentioned infrastructure at Public Works.
Mhm.
What's that about?
So we had to pay ACNS and JM, their wiring company, to come out and install. They laid all of the conduit for Public Works. They went ahead and laid all of the conduit for both internet and phones, which, you know, we're going through the phone transition right now, so they haven't even been installed down there yet. But they laid all of that, and then we've established a server for the Public Works building as well. So all of that infrastructure is now at the Public Works building. And hopefully, next year, all of our servers will be integrated. That's the goal. We're really close. We just have to get ourselves connected to internet, on the same internet at every location, and once we do that, then we can have a dedicated network. So, slow and steady, but we're almost there.
funds have to be committed by December.
They have to be obligated by December 31st. The project doesn't have to be complete, that's correct. It doesn't have to be complete, but there has to be a contract, an agreement, or a purchase order in place to retrieve those.
So when they I'm just curious because I don't know. So when you said they came in 2021?
Yeah, the end of 21.
So do they have to, a certain portion have to be committed by December of that year?
No, so it came out in 2021.
Okay.
The funds were distributed to across the nation.
Right.
They had a number of interim final rules on how this money could be spent, what you could do with it, entitlement city versus non-entitlement city, which the city of Baldwin falls under a non-entitlement unit because we're less than 10,000 in population, so the rules are different for us than they are for a bigger city like Atlanta. So they were going through all of those changes, and one thing that was always constant was the December 2024 deadline. It was that your funds needed to be obligated, and then your projects all had to be completed by 2026 with those funds, because they're like, it's a grant from the federal government, and they're having to manage that. And so I think it was earlier this year, maybe the end of last year, they came out with the final rule. But it clarified the term obligation. So what we did in November of 2021 was under that definition of obligation. The council said, this is what we're putting this money towards, and here's the minutes to prove that. That doesn't work anymore. And so the obligation requirement changed, which is fine. We just thought that the projects we had were going to be completed, and it wouldn't have mattered that there was a 2024 deadline, because everything else would have been done. Everything else that we had committed these funds to, we bought that year. So I think everything was done by March of 22, and then we've just been holding these funds for these projects for the last 2 years. We just didn't make the cut. So that's fine.
It gives us an opportunity to do some things that we would need to do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good.
Yeah.
Great.
And if there's something else that you guys would like to see on this list, I'm happy to go back and determine what that is. These are all things that we know that we can get contracted or obligated by December 31st, or actually completed by then. So that's why those are on the list. And if you notice, the red number in the middle is more than what we have available. That is because the council will have to decide what projects are most important. So, and hopefully the interior painting comes back less than what it is, and it might balance itself out. But.
So this is not anything that we need to bring to Monday? This was.
My goal is to bring it to Monday, if we have everything that we need, only because the sooner we can get started on getting those contracts and agreements in place with these contractors and vendors, the better. We only have, after Monday night's meeting, we only have 2 meetings left in the calendar year. So I don't want us to have to call a special call meeting to obligate ARPA money. So I'm hopeful that we can have everything by Monday, unless there's something that the council would like to see that I'm not able to.
Oh, it's in the channel. Are we good bringing the list forward, or having her bring the list to us Monday?
Yeah, we'll have to make some quick work and figure out how to bring that number down.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think Monday will be fine.
We talked about manhole covers.
We did not, the SSES study, I don't have the amount for the cost on that,
Okay.
so I did not put that in there. But I can get that and add it,
That,
see if it changes some things.
that's a big one for us too, so.
Well, so, let me ask for clarification. By the manhole covers, are you referring to the project that we put into the budget for this year? Because if so, that is still happening, but the SSES study,
Yes,
study.
yeah, that one.
Okay, the SSES study, I don't have a final cost estimate for,
Okay.
so I did not add that.
Okay.
I can ask EMI to have it. I think we did one recently. I'm not sure though. I know we talked about it in February.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for
Yeah.
a while.
Because we have the old one, but we wanted to redo it and see what other things that we could.
Just see.
Yeah.
Yeah. You all have seen the pictures of the smoke coming out of the manholes to see. Yeah. So, okay. All right, so yes, we can bring this forward Monday,
Sure.
if
Is there anything else you guys would like to see on the list or for us to investigate that has been like hanging out?
It's my understanding that the proposed items that we have on the list here is gonna total out to $393,000, $649,000. And we only have 320,000 available.
That's correct.
So I'll reach out to everybody during the week. What I would personally like to see is that, yes, these are all very needed items, but I'd like to get us down to that 320,000 number.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement.
Oh, we're all on the same
Yeah,
page.
and especially if they can get the interior painting down.
Yeah,
which is
I don't
amazing.
know what that
So-
cost
Yeah.
will be yet.
Well, and then the air relief valves on the force main is still a mystery, so.
Mhm.
until
But we
get
should
that-
have that by Monday as
Oh,
well.
we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What is, I would be curious to see what this erosion control, I mean, I know what you're talking about, cause I've done that and looked at it, and I actually
Yeah.
said something. But
Yeah,
what's- but
I do
mean,
remember.
like, how much, $24,000 or something? Concrete.
Well,
Yeah,
so-
it's engineering and.
Yeah, so we did get, a cost estimate from EMI. I do have it. These are all of our projects.
There'll probably be some excavation and shoring up before you can actually drop the concrete in. Because the way that bank is,
Yeah.
you've got to, it's like essentially building a small dam wall. And there's definitely some engineering involved in that.
So, the cost estimate, it includes mobilization, the site prep and form work, the grout itself, which those two items are the most expensive. Site prep is 5,000 and fillable grout, and the shotcrete is 3,500. The coring is 5,100. They have to remove and reset the chain link fence, and that's 2,500. There's some piping work that has to be redone, that's another 2,500. And then cleanup and erosion control is another 25. There's a 10% contingency, but we put that in all of our projects as well. You wanna see it?
So you're gonna pour the concrete on that bag.
Yeah, so this right here, I printed it in black and white. I didn't want to pay the copies. But this is where the building is right now, and you can see that part of it is coming off.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so our proposal is to bring this out and to pour concrete through here.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I'll send this out to everyone so you can see it. I was just hopeful that I could get all the things together and send it out. But I did want to talk about it tonight to see where your heads were and also know that this is impending. We do have to make,
I mean, these are all critical.
I love when these projects done.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
No,
Take
no.
them off,
Yeah.
you know, especially the CIP.
and if it turns out that the interior painting is too cost prohibitive to get ARPA funds for it, we can, create it, have another project. We have plenty on the list that we could add, and just use another funding source to get that completed. It's not, it's not caving in, but the longer we wait to paint it, the worse, it will be worse.
Well, yeah.
That's not the
Yeah,
sentence I
if
want
it's
to say.
painted, that's protecting the investment of the citizens. But, can we maybe cut it to like, just do some painting? It doesn't have to be the whole thing in
I
one
will
go.
ask.
Not the right side.
Right.
Right. No, I will find out. Fletcher is in training. He's teaching, not in training. He's teaching this week. So I'll try to get him on his lunch break, and talk to him about that. But I do know that he was working with some local painters to find out if they could do it.
Maybe instead of mauve eggshell, get it just gray.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna ask. It's a good one.
Lord have mercy.
Color matters. I'm with you.
But Martin brings up a really good point, that we have investments that need to be maintained. You can't put off maintenance of investments. That it makes for a problem down the road for other councils. We've always been a council that said if the problem is facing us now, we're gonna solve it. And just a reminder to our residents who are listening, this is another way that we pay for projects that have to be done, not using, property taxes to do it.
And I did want, I know that it's not like a fun project, like the email conversion or codification, but I did add those in there along with the breathing air system, because those are things that will have to come from public funds. They're either coming from the general fund or from a SPOST fund. And those are a lot harder to come by than the other projects, but these are also necessary, so.
We've kicked codification down the road for the 5 years that I've been on council. And it has to get done. We're past in due time on that. So,
Yeah.
and it's a great way to pay for it, so.
And the breathing air system is also critical because,
It has to be done.
I mean, even firefighters need to breathe,
Really?
some of them.
And as Joe said, I mean, they're using life and limb going into places, and without the correct equipment, we shouldn't be sending it. So, this is protecting our investment in our workers. All right, good.
So you guys okay with us pursuing all of these options and then getting what we can for you guys to make a decision?
We're looking to make it on Monday.
Yep. I will do it. Thank you.
Just a quick disclaimer, we've all been saying Monday,
Oh,
our meeting is actually Tuesday because of Veterans Day on Monday.
Thank you.
Just putting that out there.
We swapped weeks.
Yes, this is the confusing week.
All right, that is the end of new business. We'll move into announcements. The city of Baldwin encourages its residents to exercise their right to vote. And tomorrow is election day. If you have any questions of where to go for either advanced voting or on election day, please call the Habersham County Elections and Registration Office, 706-839-0170. Sign up for Fall Amnesty Day have officially closed. If you called City Hall for pickup, please make sure that all items are placed on the curb no later than 8 a.m. on November 7th. City Hall offices will be closed on Monday, November 11th in observance of Veterans Day, and on November 28th and 29th for the Thanksgiving holiday. The third annual Baldwin Thanksgiving Community Potluck Dinner will be on November 28th, starting at 4:30 at the Baldwin Fire Department. The potluck is open to all Baldwin residents. We will provide turkey and ham, and we ask that guests bring a favorite dish to share. Please RSVP to 470-208-9842 with the number of guests and dish details for the menu. Lastly, the Baldwin Christmas tree lighting will be on Friday, November 6th at 6 p.m., bringing the Christmas season with Christmas carols by Baldwin Elementary School Choir as we light the tree and enjoy free pictures with Santa, free cookies and cocoa, and free train rides around the park. Any other announcements from council? Any announcements from staff? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Gunter. Can I have a second? I have a second from Councilwoman Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.